Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Good morning,
Peter.
everybody.
Here we go with episode number 305, our 305th episode, Peter. So, you doggy, we're getting to be older men. The name of today's podcast, or its title, is Pro versus Rookie in Creative Real Estate Exclusively, Part 1. Yeah, the Part 1 came later because I tried to write it all in one podcast and couldn't do it.
Yeah, okay.
So the Part 1's in parentheses. It was an add-on.
Oh, yeah.
Here's today's description of the podcast. Truth be told, most of us have two lives. The life we live and the unlived life within us. Between the two is a lot of resistance, anxiety, failed purpose, unhappiness, and most often the core depth of failure. These parts of your mind are the most toxic for your creative real estate success. Deform your spirit of life and stunts us without even knowing it most of the time. Every sun casts a shadow, which means we all have and behold our own genius ability. But in today's podcast, I would like to bring forth not the talent or the skill of being a creative real estate entrepreneur, but instead the good or bad habits or traits that either make you or break you. Just like an alcoholic having to see his problem, then admitting it before he can do something about it, today, I plan to sit in that circle with you so you can admit to yourself, this is who I am. And this is what I need to do if I want to be a professional, creative real estate entrepreneur. Once this enemy is spotted in your own head, you can truly win the fight. Whoa.
Well, Mr. Profound on a Thursday.
So a little bit of housekeeping for the geeks in the background. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel so every time we pop up, which is, by the way, Thursday mornings, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've tested that a little bit on some other days, and we're still here on Thursday mornings at 9:30 a.m. If you would like to participate in the podcast by asking questions or make your comments or whatever it is you so wish to do, then on Thursday mornings about 9:30 a.m. Some Thursday mornings it's a little earlier, a little later, depending on us old guys with the technology. Sometimes we fly right in, sometimes we don't. You can go to YouTube or you can go to Facebook. And you'll find us there. Just type in Flipping Houses for Rookies and you can find us live at that time. Also, please make sure, like I said, you subscribe and you like us on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you are really ambitious, which I would love, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. You can leave us a review there by just going to the podcast page. You'll see the link on the top. You can send me personally a support ticket. And there's a bunch of free stuff. There's over 26 free things on that page to help you with creative real estate. Okay? Woo! Oh, yeah, by the way, in the description, there's a link, and I always put a surprise in the link. So wherever you're reading the description for this podcast or this video. Inside the description or below the video, you'll find that link. And I don't talk about them as much as I used to because, like I said, I always put surprises in there. So, all right, Pete, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
In the last few months, I have noticed some new clients in my coaching group seem to excel.
Uh-huh.
And I was trying, in my crazy mind, trying to profile them. Sort of like how cops do criminal profiling on the criminal's head, like the psychology and the reason why somebody is a serial killer. Like they profile, the cop like profiles. And if you watch any of those cop shows, you'll see that they're constantly trying to get the psychology of the criminal's mind or the way they're thinking, and that kind of reveals like who they are. And not just serial killers, but terrorists and other criminal masterminds. Right?
Yeah.
So the cops are always and of course I have a very unique viewpoint about this because I personally believe, and I know you do too, because we've talked about this. Chasing criminals is it's not that it's easy. I'm not trying to belittle the cops, but criminals always leave clues because they want to be caught. That's just the innate ability of mankind. I mean, man wants to be basically good, so if he does something wrong, he wants to be caught. Right?
Yeah.
That's my general belief, right?
Yep.
So I was like working through this same methodology to get inside the heads of like my perfect coaching client. Like, who are they? Where are they? And one of the things that I had come up with, and you and I had talked about as a little side note here, is I noticed the clients that do best with me are clients that have usually been somewhere else, spent a bunch of money, usually, not always, but spent a bunch of money on somebody else's coaching. They spent, 25, 30, 40, 50 grand, and they got the coach every 2 weeks for 30 minutes, and they got a lot of good information, and they felt like it was like just okay, but they didn't do a deal, and they felt like the practical application was not to their satisfaction.
Right.
They got a lot of training, they got a lot of information, but they didn't get a lot of like hands-on, like roll your sleeves up, hands-on.
Yeah, something's always missing, like at the finish line or the halfway line, somewhere it's just not working. They didn't have a house. They didn't buy a house.
Right. Or just have the experience of getting close to a house, right? So I am definitely the roll up the sleeves, get the sledgehammer out, get a broom, let's go, we're going in.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right?
Oh, hell yeah.
I am definitely that guy. So, and to the point, I mean, recently, the last couple of months, since I've been in Florida, I think it's been about 2 months now. That's why I'm referencing Florida in my mind for a timeline. See, the thing is I've been doing three or four times a week, I've been doing live closing calls. So the coaching clients have been able to 3 or 4 times a week come on a Zoom call with me, and they actually watch me or listen to me on their phone while I'm actually making my live calls for deals.
That's
right. And I got to tell you, it's very entertaining for them because right now, the way the economy is, I mean, it's starting to break, but it's not so easy getting deals these days. So some of the conversations are very, very good conversations because of where I go and what I say and how I do it, and it's been very informative for them. So that's what I mean by rolling my sleeves up. I'm like right there. And recently I've been allowing them to bring some of their deals, and I'll actually call their deals for them, which won't stay that way forever, and it's not a promise I want to make somebody in the coaching group, but it is that way right now. So I'm trying to figure out like how, and I'm kind of picky about my coaching group because it's not like everybody can get in. I want to make sure that I don't infect the group. I try to keep it, I keep it below 15 people. I'm sorry, below 20 people. That 15 people, 16 people, that's a good range. It allows me to like really be hands-on. It really allows me to help them. I'll do Zoom calls sometimes during the week if they need help. I really have hands-on. We have a WhatsApp group that it's extraordinary, because sometimes we're in there 4 or 5 times a day or more helping one another. The support is incredible. So I don't say that to talk about my coaching group, even though it sounds like I'm doing that. I say that because I get a lot of feedback I feel like I'm right there with my client, going through the deal with them, feeling the pain, feeling the happy, feeling all of it with them. So I get a lot of feedback from these guys.
Right, but don't forget, it's around the country too, and out of country. It's not just our local area.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, we used to have a group. I used to have a group in Israel. Now I just have one guy from Israel. But yes, it's all over the United States. Mm-hmm. Right. I used to have a guy from Australia. So, I've had different perspectives. Anyways, that's all that my point is. And I'm not trying to, again, brag about all that stuff. It's just a point. So I'm trying to strengthen this group, right? So I want to strengthen this group so I can get more mastermind activity there. So I'm not looking, obviously I get paid. Obviously everybody wants money, but it's as important, if not more important to me, that I get the right people in this group so that we can really mastermind and really help one another.
Right, because, I was on a call with you the other day. We're checking some things out that we're looking at. There's 60 people on the call, right?
Yeah.
And there's no way they could help each other on that. It was too much going on. But
Right.
In our group, I think everybody wants to help each other too. Like someone has a question, they jump in.
I want to jump in and clarify. We were in a different group with somebody else that had 60 people on it.
That's right, another group, sure.
It was actually Jay Connor's private thing there because we did his webinar, right? So
Yeah.
So we were in that other group and there were over 60 people in there, and that's I think what your point is, right?
Right, and it's a new group for us to look at for a little bit to engage with. But ours, I don't know other ones too much, but it definitely, people will jump right in. Someone asks a question, before you open your mouth, someone's got an answer because they're trying to help.
Yeah.
Because they're learning from you. They heard your lessons and they know.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we've bought other coaching and all that, but I'm very biased and I don't expect anybody to believe me, but I do believe that our coaching is one of the best on the planet because of the amount of interaction.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've spent over $100,000, way over $100,000. We've already spent this year $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, already this year. Yeah. Actually, probably more than $5,000 already this year, right? And this is 2022, right? So, and we're not even halfway through the year. So I'm always buying stuff. I always go back, and anyways, I'm way off topic. So I've just, it's not like I'm making this comment to make myself look good or make you look good or anything like that. We do get out there. We are in the world. We do training. We do listen to, I'm always looking for the newest thing, right? And not that I'm a shiny object guy, but if the market's changing, and I know it because I'm on the calls and my coaching clients are watching me, and we had a whole topic about that last night about, a couple of the old timers on there, and they're like, yeah, I really believe you now. The market is changing. Because, I was making 25, 30 phone calls. Now I make less than 10 because I talk to people. I talk to them 3, 5, 10. One guy, I talked to him 23 minutes.
Yeah. Just the fact that they're answering the phone tells you something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going through some old leads. We were looking at, leads that were like, that were in, I have notes in the CRM, the customer relationship management tool, right? Where we keep all our notes. And the guy's like one house, the house was on Zillow for $230,000. It's now on Zillow for $199. He was asking $215. Now this was like 3 or 4 months ago, and I'm following up with him. And he said he just wrote a contract for $179.
Ooh.
So time changes everything. And we've seen, yesterday, just in my 90-minute yesterday, I found 3 or 4 of those where the numbers were in the notes, and it's on Zillow significantly less money. So it's happening. When I write my emails and all that stuff, this is why. It's because I'm interacting with people. Anyways, We're way off topic. So while I was doing this drill, I started to reveal, like in my process and in my mind, actually in pictures, because I started seeing things, like who I'm talking to and all these things. It's like these pictures are flashing in my mind. That clients who are the movers and shakers all have some of these same traits, habits, and they're in common.
Oh, cool.
Including myself and yourself. So what I thought we should do today is go through some of these observations that I've made, right, and have noticed, and compare those that don't do some of this stuff. So compare the pro to the rookie or the amateur.
Yeah.
I know the title said rookie, but to the amateur, right? So there's a notable contrast, and allow the rookie to see where his or her next move should be. So it's not made to invalidate or make wrong the rookie. It's to kind of put a contrast there, like I have $100, I want 1,000. There's a contrast there, so you know where to go, what direction to move, how to point your compass, and what mountain to overcome, and what valley to go through, and how much gas you're going to need, and all that kind of stuff, right? Cool. So that's what this is designed for. Okay, so we're going to talk about the pro and the amateur today, and get the contrast. And to be clear, just to be clear before we start, when I say professional or pro is short, PRO is short for professional, right? I don't mean like doctors and lawyers and those kind of professionals. Okay?
Right. You're talking about a real estate professional, right?
Yeah. So okay, just because you made some facial expressions, that's why I stopped. So yeah, I'm not talking about professions. Like doctor, lawyer, school teacher, that kind of stuff. Those people go to college for a specific trade, and then they have a profession and they have practices, right?
Right.
I mean professionally as an ideal state of being while working. Right? So what I'm talking about is a pro is an ideal state of being something, right? Or an ideal state to be in while working.
Well, you've said it before, but if you want to do certain things, like I want to do real estate, you have to have a step that's called be first. Like, what do you have to be? Attitudes, your viewpoint, determination, courage, and that's what you're going to be talking about. It's the be to get you to make the do that happen.
Yeah, so that's kind of been, I got that from Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill wrote about it. Maxwell Maltz wrote about
that
it.
That comes from Asia. 1,000 years, 2,000 years. That's around. Be, you do, you have.
Yeah. Maxwell Maltz, Hubbard wrote about it in some of his writings. Who else? Buddha. Buddha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that all that
Hindus.
that secret stuff, and now the other day I bought, which I should give to you. I bought the movie Think and Grow Rich for $59, and it's okay, but that's got that was the big release that Grant Cardone was talking about. He was boasting that something big is coming. He did something big. Well, he's on the movie, so he's part of. He's in the Think and Grow Rich movie. So.
Good for him.
Anyways, so as a pro or a professional, we're talking about an ideal state to be in while you're working. It's like you mastered it, or you're not. You never master it because things always change, but you're very comfortable with your work.
Yeah.
Right. An amateur is meant as a person who pursues the activity as a hobby, right? Or minor occupation. They're self-taught, user-generated, do-it-yourself type.
Wow, what a bad idea.
So the main difference between these two, the pro makes consistent income. That's the main difference between a pro and an amateur, is the pro makes consistent income and can live off of his own activity.
Yeah.
Okay? An amateur cannot, and most often can't even support the activity, like the training or the practice time or the coach or, the tools that are needed. They don't even make enough money to support the activity. So a big gauge on whether you're a pro or you're a pro or an amateur. A big distinguished factor there is, are you making money from it? And so many times I've heard, over the years, I hear people tell me, oh, well, Bill, as soon as I do a deal, I'm going to hire you as a coach. And almost 100% of the time it never happens. And the reason why is because my argument to that, not that I want to argue with anybody, is, well, if you don't have a coach or if you don't have somebody that's helping you, how do you know you're not missing deals? Mm-hmm. How do you know when there's a deal on? Because how many times are we on the coach? And Pete, you've been with me 7 years, and we've done our share of business together. And you still come to me and say, sometimes you see things I don't see, Bill. Did you see anything? You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's like,
hell yeah.
And it's not even me, but it's just, and you say this lately, it's like, we were looking for air flights because we're going in June, we're going to a seminar, right?
Yep.
And you're telling me air flights are like $700-800. And we got online after last week's podcast.
Yep.
Right? We got online and you're like, and we found something for $132, a flight for $132, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's why I like, the two of us together always do something.
Yeah, well, you had an idea that, wait a minute, well, then we could do this. How about that? We'll try this airport. Hey, and that, just between the two of us. I was trying to keep my mind open, but I just wasn't finding what I wanted. But it works out, two minds is better than one, and two heads.
Yeah, so to me, it's like a car battery. You have a positive and a negative,
Yeah.
and the energy or the electricity flows from one to the other, from negative to positive or positive to negative, however way you want to look at it. And what happens if you take away one of the terminals,
Yeah,
the
not
positive
much.
or the negative?
Not
The
much.
electricity doesn't move,
Nope.
right? So to me, that's what happens when you're not working with a mentor or a coach. Is you're that terminal on the battery. You're either the positive or the negative, and the energy. And you can't generate energy because nothing's flowing. It's all just inside your own head.
Yep.
So, not having someone to work with or having a terminal of comparable magnitude. In other words, a positive and a negative have to be the same electricity size. You can't have 240 volts and 12 volts. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
Because one will blow up the other. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so you have to have similar. What is the word I want?
Well, yeah.
Similar ideas or
Similar
reality. Reality.
Similar everything. Goal. You know what the biggest thing? Goals.
Yeah, missions.
Goals
right?
and somewhat and abilities and ideas. The whole thing. Just be on the same page. Call it that.
Okay, so in an amateur, their dedication is somewhere else, sort of like other fish to fry. We call that other fish to fry. Like they have to make a living. They're doing some other job. This, and they're not dedicated enough to get the desired results.
Yeah.
Like I said in this podcast description, having two lives. One, they need to support themselves. Right? And the other is their unlived life they only dream about because they don't decide to become a pro. Right? And believe in themselves to make the plunge that the pro will make and not think about another life. Like they won't think about the unlived life because they'll jump in and do it. Right?
Yeah.
So that's a whole podcast within itself, which I'm not going to do today, but that comes with, do you believe in yourself?
That's right.
Are you emotionally involved in this? Or do you have to have that security blanket we call a job, which is just over broke? So Johnny says that I'm talking about him today.
Johnny, we all feel like that, but not all of us admit it.
He says he's here. He's here. Howdy, real estate freaks. That's his entry. I'm listening while working as usual. Yeah, working his job. This is exactly what I'm talking about. That's why Johnny says it. He's working his job. He doesn't have the freedom to be able to listen to this podcast without interruption, right? So, all right.
Hey, don't pick on Johnny.
What? Rocky's there too. He said, Yeah. All right. Enough of that. Let's go on with the traits and habits. So here we go.
Please.
Number 1. I'm sorry, they're putting comment. Rocky says, unfortunately, I think you're talking about me too.
Yeah, we got that, Rocky. Yeah.
Rocky, there's a lot of people I'm talking to right now. It's not just you, okay?
No.
It takes balls to do it. It takes balls. You got to be able to jump and believe in yourself. It takes balls.
You know what? I thought about this yesterday. Just one last thing. Here's the difference to me. No matter, like a lot of people say, well, the environment around me, the market, the job market, the economy, the inflation, blah, 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 blah. It's too bad for me to survive well in. I'm not going to do well in this environment. To me, that's the amateur. To me, the professional is, it doesn't matter what the environment is. God damn it, I'm going to find a way to succeed. God damn it. I don't mean to swear, but I just did. Sorry. But you have that like, no matter what, I am going to find a way. God, I'm in the desert. I am gonna find water, no matter what. And that's what I was thinking about yesterday, because I hear both. I hear mostly the other way. Oh, can't because. Oh, Jesus.
All right, number one, the pro loves his game. Money's down the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Duty to his mission is at the top of the scale and is important for him or her. It's like his awareness, if there's an awareness scale, his awareness and what he puts his attention on is duty to his mission. Mm-hmm. And I apologize to the ladies because I say his all the time. It's his or her. I don't mean to be gender specific. And I try to write his or her, but I don't always read it that way. Obviously, I'm a guy, so I say he.
No, but
when you listen to a girl, she says she,
Bill, that's the big definition of he, meaning all of mankind, all genders, all everybody's. There's that definition too. All inclusive, because we're an all-inclusive podcast.
Yeah. So the pro is often obsessed with his duty. He feels happy when he can check off some unknown and known obstacles. And he feels the obstacles are his experience and the exceptions to the rules learned when first starting. So I have this saying that I say a lot lately is learning is for the rules. Experience is the exception to those rules.
Right.
And you tell me that all the time because the rules are like the 7 strategies. And then you call them the hybrid strategies when I mix and match them.
Yeah, you can't. Those are yours. You can't mix your own strategies. You go, it's my own strategy. I can do what I want.
Those are the exceptions. Like knowing when to mix them and when to use this piece and that part and this part and this piece and all that stuff, right? And on the other hand, we have the amateur, who's not emotionally bought in, right? And treats the activity. So in other words, this activity of real estate, he treats it as plan B, right? And only works on it when plan A lets him have the time to do the activity, right? Which means to me, his perceived value for the activity is much decreased from the pro's point of view. So the pro is going to make this activity plan A and he's all in emotionally and his duty for the mission is very high.
Yeah.
Right? The amateur doesn't believe the value is that high, whether it's their own losses or failed purposes, or they tried it and it didn't work and they almost went bankrupt and they spent too much money on coaching, or they spent too much money on the tools, or they have $10,000 on their credit card and their significant other is bitching at them because they're making a $500 a month payment and there's nothing coming back. And I've heard this lecture, you're not spending another dime until you start making some money. Right? That's all bullshit. That's all bullshit. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think sometimes they're doing it to see if it works,
right?
Not I'm going to make it work,
right?
Like an if, like see if, like that ain't bad approach.
From these glasses of the amateur, he doesn't see how he could take a leap of faith and believe in himself to handle anything necessary to become a pro. No results or low results is the pay of being an amateur. And never really believing the pro when they give advice.
Oh, I'm sorry. But, when the student questions the teacher, it's like, you can question, but you should understand before you start questioning, or ask for clarification before you start doubting, I should say, right? That, to me, it's funny.
So I was on a coaching call the other day because I do coaching with some other coaches, right? I don't do the coaching. I'm just on the calls for support. And this guy's been around for 40 years. I mean, he's a well-known coach. And then we had this guy on there, right? And we're telling him there's 3 of us. There's the coach, there's myself, and then the coach's partner. So there's 3 of us. Between us, we probably have 100 years collectively of real estate experience. And we're
telling me I can't wait. Go ahead. What did he do?
And we're telling him because he's talking about how he gets up. He's out west. He gets up at 5:30 in the morning, and and he just can't seem to like get going and all this stuff, right? So he started after finally a month or two of convincing him to make calls. He's starting to make calls. So we told him numerous times, take the script, handwrite the script, read it into then read it into your cell phone,
record
and
it.
listen to it. Just listen to it 15 or 20 times. And that would not absorb. He had everything. I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try that, and I'm going to try this. And it was nothing of what we did. And we told him like on the call like 15 times, and it didn't sink in. He's telling us what he's going to do.
Oh, boy.
And it had nothing to do with what he needs. It's like bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Right. Number 2. A pro can't read my own writing. Oh my goodness. I can't read my own damn writing. It says a pro. I think it's fails fear. I don't think that's right though.
Feels fear, or doesn't?
You're right. Yes, you're right. You're absolutely sorry about that. A pro feels fear. I'm totally blitzed out there. The pro knows he can never overcome fear.
Oh.
And there is no such thing as a fearless warrior or a dread-free hero.
Yeah.
The amateur believes he must overcome fear before he can do things. Fear forces the amateur to stop. With a pro, fear forces them to go and to learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
The pro knows the only way to eliminate fear is to turn the fear into a lesson.
Yep.
And that's the only way he can overcome fear, is to turn it into a lesson. And the amateur doesn't know that. He hasn't learned that yet.
Well, the amateur uses it as a reason to stop, and the pro uses it as a lesson to continue.
So the pro wants, not that you ever want fear, but the pro kind of looks for it because he knows on the other side of that fear, the other side of that goalpost, is the lesson. And the lesson will stick with you a lot longer than the fear will. Right? And the lesson will propel you into other bigger territory. The lesson will expand upon allowing you to find another fear and let it get less. And sooner or later, you become fearless because you just keep moving that goalpost out and out and out and finding more and more fear. By the way, fear in my head, I don't have much of it, as you're aware. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I don't have much of it because I've kind of gotten rid of it, right? And my point is that I lost my train of thought. So what I think what I was trying to say is that fear is it's a lack of confront, right? It's not knowledge. It's not anything like that. It's just how you look at it, right?
Well, let me speak for you because I watch you do this. So when you go into a deal, you don't have to know how everything's going to turn out because you have enough confidence in yourself that if you hit a problem, you can find an answer. You don't have to have the answer right away. That's not real life. So, I'll hit something and go, I don't know what to do about that. Okay, well, who do I ask? So you know that you can work it out one way or the other.
Right.
You know,
especially nowadays. See, now, Peter, what you say is very profound for me. Thank you, by the way, for the compliment.
Well, I just watch you do it.
But it's very profound for me because right now, you get me on the conversation of millennials, and I like to have this conversation with my two daughters that are 30 and 27, right? Just because I love to observe it, right? But I kind of go off on this tangent. Like, millennials, like somebody asked you, do children have a better? Somebody asked me this. Do children have a better way to survive, or
better
can they survive
opportunities?
better opportunities today
Than 30
they did
years
20
ago.
years ago?
Yeah.
And my answer is, without hesitation, is yes. And here's one reason why. When I did this 20 years ago, we didn't have this thing called an internet where we can type on Google what to do. So when I had fear or I had a question, if I said to a customer or a seller, well, let me go find out, I literally had to go find out.
Yeah, you had to go, not sit down at the computer. You had to go.
I had to call an attorney or call an accountant or call, the appraisal guy, or go to the city hall, or, it was way more work than it is today. Now you just sit at a computer and you type it out, and it's like, I mean, I've been ranking the crap out of videos on YouTube. So I've been all over YouTube training. I've got there's so much stuff on YouTube, right? You want to know what to do, just go on YouTube.
Oh, hell yeah.
So not only can you, then there's blogs and there's forums and there's, Google itself and articles, and it's just, they got it made. I mean, there's no reason why you can't say to a seller, well, you know what? Let me go figure it out and I'll call you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Yeah, so you don't have to have the answers all the time. Professionals don't. They have assistants, they have a team, they have somebody to check with, and that's how I notice you do it, and you've gotten used to it, so you don't have to worry about it. And I'm getting much better at that myself.
Well, to your point, and I know we're off topic again, but to your point, yesterday I was doing these closing calls that I was talking about with my coaching guys, and I got all of them watching me and listening to me, right? Half a dozen of them. And I hit this lead. And the guy, now Sean has a different perspective. He's another partner, and he's 27 years old, and he's a millennial and has a different perspective on some of these deals. So we talk about these a lot. Like last night I spent a half an hour with him on some deal structures, right?
Sure.
So, he has a different perspective on people too. I mean, he's a brainiac, so his where his IQ stops, where his personality stops, his IQ picks up, right? So, with me, it's the other way around. I mean, I've got a fairly good IQ, but not as good as his. And I pick up with, the ability to communicate and talk to people and all that kind of stuff. So we balance one another out, right?
Yep.
So the point that I'm making here is that I had a deal, right? And I was on the phone with this guy.
Another comment coming in, ladies and gentlemen, from Johnny.
Johnny. So I had a guy that was on the phone, and I'm on Zillow, and the property's in Ohio, because we're in Ohio. We do deals in Ohio, from Connecticut, by the way. Mm-hmm. And it's Zillow saying $181,000, and I'm looking at this house, and it's like a nice house, right? And the guy's telling me he did some renovations. It's on Lake Erie. It's like, I got all the magic, and he's asking $125,000. I froze. I froze. I didn't stop talking, but I froze. You know what I told him? I said to him, I'm very interested in the house. I'm going to call you back in a day or so. And he's like, what's happening? I said, I need to do comps. I need to go do my homework. I thought I was missing something. Now, I've talked to thousands and thousands of sellers, and in that position, you would be like, you should pounce on that. No, I didn't.
In today's market, everything is over.
Yeah.
Over comps. I had one the other day the same way. I figured out what was going on, but you go wait a minute, how come it's only that?
Right. Well, because first of all, the market's changing, but more to the point is, I did exactly what you're saying in my position, so why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I said to the guy, I don't know. He's like, well, what do you got to go do? I got to go get comps. He didn't know what that meant. I have to go get comparable prices. I want to make sure that the numbers I'm looking at, well, how are you going to do that? I'm going to go look at some websites.
Oh, he had no idea, huh?
Nope. Johnny Cash says, do you think information overload slows people down or scares people? No, that's the symptom. That's the symptom. Information overload is not enough. It's too much significance. There's not enough, what's the word I want, Pete?
Focus?
Not enough physical mass.
Oh, too many ideas. Well, he might be saying something. I think I know what he's talking about in another perspective. Grant Cardone said something. I saw a little video of his that. Remember when you used to go to the RIAs and one week the guy would pitch wholesale, and the next week he'd pitch lease options. The next week he'd pitch buy my course on subject to, and you're trying to get this training and you're being dispersed into doing all these things, and instead of picking one, you don't know where to start. So he might be talking about that.
Yeah.
So I've seen people get into that one because you told me that happened to you. Like every week I was trying, like this guy said this and I tried. You got to pick something before, or else you just go nowhere. You go in circles.
Yeah, well, that's a common trait with an amateur. I didn't even get to that. But the common trait is you bounce from one thing to another without letting something actually work. You don't give it long enough time to let it work.
Yeah.
Right. But here's my advice. This is my steadfast, strongest advice, especially to John and people like that. Mm-hmm. The best thing that you could do is talk to people.
Yeah.
And just keep talking to people until you feel comfortable. And then just keep talking to people. I mean, look at the deals that we're dredging up. We haven't done a deal in a few months, right? Mm. And all of a sudden now we're dredging deals up left, right, and center. How come? You and I are on the phones. Mm-hmm. And then when you find that seller that needs something, or you find that deal you think you have, that's what you study. And that's what I mean by too much significance, not enough physical mass.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to retain all the information, it's like trying to study giraffes and you never saw a giraffe. Mm-hmm. Right? Like you imagine what it looks like and you have images in your head, but you never saw a giraffe. So why are you studying subject to deals if you've never spoken to a seller that would sell you subject to?
Yeah.
It doesn't connect. The dots don't connect. So you have to speak to the seller to actually know what a subject to deal is.
All right. And I think
appreciate it.
I think you solved the big pile of possible real estate deals, like what's going on. At least it's a huge pile of confusion with your loan to value ratios. Yeah. So if a house has a certain loan to value ratio on the loan, I mean, if the thing is completely leveraged to the top, there's only so many things you can do. If the house has no mortgage at all, there's more things you can do. So your loan to value discoveries will tell somebody where to focus. Just this is what I should do. Or maybe
you can find that if you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, all the way down to the bottom of the page. It's, I think, Creative Real Estate 101. You get it for free.
Yep, important.
All right, we need to boogie on here. We're like pretty far behind. So number 3, the pro accepts no excuses. You were talking about that earlier. The pro has learned better. He respects resistance, and he knows if he caves into excuses, it sets future expectations or future habits that he doesn't want. The pro works on habits and behavior, not results. The pro knows that affluence comes from doing more of the right than the wrong. Mm-hmm. So, like we're talking about, just talk to people. There's habits that you and I have, right?
Yep.
That we just do, and we know if we do it enough, the results will come. We're not worried about the results, right? So, if you're baking a cake, right? You know you got to put in flour and sugar, and you got to put in baking soda and eggs and oil, and you just do it. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe you put the cake in the oven, and the oven's not working so great that day, and it comes out horrible, but you just know, okay, well, I'll just put more flour, and I'll do it again and fix the oven.
Yeah.
Right? You just do the usual. Your habits and your behavior is what you should concentrate on, not the results. Too many people get into real estate because they want to make a $30,000 check because they're like, and they become needy, and that's all they think about is that $30,000 check, and they're trying to shortcut it. You know, that's like saying, I want to go to Florida, but not taking an airplane or taking a car to get there.
Yeah, you just want
to go to Florida.
You just want it to happen. Like I think of it as like, just want to find where's the magic deal? Where's the magic deal? No, just don't worry about the magic deal. Just do your job. You know, everybody in the factory, do your job. At the other end, a car will come out. Just do your job and do it a lot and do it good, and you watch it. It'll happen. Trust it. Right. Patience.
And too many people. Yeah, never mind. So he believes, now this is, so he believes that if he just does the usual, the results will show up.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes not what you do, but how you do it, right? Like a lot of people think that they can just say a magic sentence, like somebody like me could teach them a magic sentence and it will flip a switch and they'll say, oh yeah, I'll sell you my house. Doesn't work that way. Right?
Yeah.
That's the reason why we don't work on scripts so much. The scripts are not what you need to buy a house. The scripts are used, like we use 4 questions. You know, the 4 things that when they're not even questions. The 4 things we need to know is price. How much is their price? You know, their best price that they could sell for. How much are their monthly payments they're willing to accept? How long are they willing to accept them? And then deposit money. Now, obviously, if they're not willing to accept payments, then the deposit money is the discounted price.
Yeah.
Like, how much money do I need now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to get that discounted price. But here's the point. The scripts are designed to handle the answers to those questions. The scripts are designed to handle the rebuttals and the questions and the obstacles that the seller has in their own mind. Not that there's this war between you and the seller, like who's going to win. It's more like when the seller is asking those questions, the seller's trying to work through in their own mind how this works, and it's your job to help them understand how it would work before it's going to work. Mm-hmm. And that's what a pro does, is he goes through that sequence, right? So the amateur, on the other hand, underestimates, and I've seen this happen so much, underestimates resistance. The amateur always underestimates resistance. I'm having a little bit of trouble with a coaching client with this right now. I'll remain nameless, but everything, I got this deal. And it's because they felt like they did a good presentation. They didn't listen to the seller. They didn't hear the seller. And then all of a sudden, 4 days later, they're like, I sent this document. They didn't sign it. How come? Mm. Well, I thought you had a deal, right? They underestimate the resistance.
Yeah, from the seller.
From anything.
Ooh.
Whether it's the seller, whether it's the attorney, whether it's the contractor, whether it's the private lender, they just underestimate resistance, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of human nature when you make your plans. No one ever makes plans, whether you're doing your finances, your vacation, your job, your business. No one plans in problems. No one plans on it. It just happens. Right. So you just have to you have to realize it may happen. Just be ready.
So the pro expects this resistance and these problems, right? So I put here, he permits the flu or COVID in his chapters of his playbook as an excuse.
Who does? The amateur does that?
The amateur does that. Like, it's COVID and I can't go in houses. People won't let me go in their houses. Well, we were doing virtual tours.
Yeah.
We didn't stop.
See, that's my example. That's my point. Using the environment as an excuse instead of the pro way, like, well, what can we do? How do we get around it? What do we do instead? Damn, we've had astronauts in space where the damn capsule wouldn't work and they were going to die. And they came up with some crazy way to get them back on Earth. Apollo 13, watch the movie. There's like, well, sorry, didn't work out. Hell no, you find a way.
Yep.
That's the pro
So
way.
the amateur believes this sly little voice and treacherous voice that wants to exploit a poison of trust in order to betray the mission in his head.
Wow, little traitor.
So it's we call this it's called the subconscious mind, the reactive mind, the not analytical mind. It's the part of you that doesn't think. Yeah. It just reacts because there's an environmental thing that happened. When you're 3 years old, you fall off a bike and you break your leg. Now you're 30 years old and you see a bike and you get a funny feeling in your stomach. You don't know why, but you feel, because it was a painful moment.
Yeah.
Right? Your mind doesn't connect. Oh, when I was 3, I fell off a bike and I broke my arm. Mm-hmm. It doesn't connect the dots. It just, when you get around bikes, you're like, oh, bikes are dangerous. and you don't even know why. It's your subconscious or reactive mind, however you want to call it, right? It's the part of your mind that's thinking without you, right? It's actually kind of weird. The amateur now does, because of this accepts excuses and what you're talking about, the amateur now does busy work. Thinking this is more important than doing the work that needs to be done to get the results that will pay him so he can turn into a pro state.
Yeah, well, at his job, all he has to do is put time in and he gets paid. Doesn't work in this business.
Right.
No.
And make enough money so the activity doesn't want to go overboard with the baby water. Right? So basically, these excuses that are plausible to him, and he'll voice them to other people that don't know nothing about the business, right? And they believe it. The mission is not believable to them. The mission of I could make a living with real estate, a good living, everybody else does. There's a lot of people around you. You've seen them, people like me or people like you, that's all we do. But you make these excuses. Well, Bill is better at talking to people. Well, Bill has a lot of money, that's why he can do it. Or Bill this or Bill that. It's all these excuses that are just that, excuses. They're plausible reasons, they're stops not to do something. All right, number 4, because I want to get through 5 of these, and we only got about 10 more minutes to go. So number 4. Does that make sense? First of all, number 3. It made sense, right? Excuses.
Oh, hell yeah. We don't like it, but it makes sense.
Number 4, the pro plays it all as it lays out. The pro conducts his business in the real world, whether good or bad. Not in the other world we were talking about in the description. Right?
Yeah.
Remember we had 2 lives?
Yeah, the
right?
wish world.
The unlived life.
Oh, man.
Right? So the pro does it in the real world. He knows that if he is on an island with his enemy and the ship he arrived on is burned, there's no way out. Left only to fight so he can live, or die.
Yep. Win or die.
The amateur gets started when he thinks he doesn't go. Let me see here. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to change my writing. The amateur gets startled when he thinks things don't go the way he thought they would or should.
Yeah.
See, the pro doesn't get startled. He just kind of rolls along with it. And that's a personality thing. That's just knowing. I mean, people even with fear, like a used car salesman will be in fear. They're afraid they aren't going to get a sale, right? But they'll keep talking. And they'll bullshit their way through it, right? Now, I'm not telling you to do that, but the amateur gets startled when things don't go the way they thought it would or should. They get kicked off their self-induced pedestal and get frantic. They don't think. Anxiety kicks in for a little ride. Much like a train derailing.
Yep.
Except the derailing here is their own mission. So when they get startled, they go into this unconscious mind, right? They're looking for information that isn't information. It's their feelings. It's not data. It's their feelings.
Yeah.
They can't control. They can't hold on, right? And then next thing you know, they're down the rabbit hole, right? So no disrespect to my wife, but my wife is like this. It's like, it's cold in here, and she turns the heat up in the car. It's like the time between she felt like it was cold and her action was like 3 seconds.
Mm.
She didn't just wait a minute or two to see if she really is cold. She didn't wait to see if maybe there was just a breeze and it'll get warm again.
Mm.
She didn't inspect the environment to see, why did it all of a sudden get cold in here?
No.
What happened to me that I'm actually cold right now? And she reacts. She doesn't proact. And she turns the heat up. And then, sure enough, a few minutes later, it's hot in here because she turned the heat up. And she's now got the air conditioner on. Okay? And I'm not making fun of my wife. I'm not. I mean, I love her dearly. But this is what happens. Try doing this for 1,500 miles going to Florida and back each way. This is what happens, okay? I mean, so the point that I'm trying to make here is sometimes you just got to just chill out a minute and absorb what's happening before you make the decision and have a reaction to it. They call it a knee-jerk reaction. It's this way with kids. Daddy, I just stabbed Joey in the chest. Right? Well, you find out that he had a make-believe knife. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a horrible example, especially with what's going on today. But
got my attention.
The point is that you can't have instant reaction. Instant reaction will kill you. Just give yourself a minute to sort through it, and you're going to find that almost always it's not what the instant reaction thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay? The pro knows to delay that.
Bill, I've seen you do that. I've seen you
Yeah.
do that. Folks, he's in a house, there's a thing like there's no furnace or there's something going on, and he just stops. And he just looks into the distance, and I wait. And he goes, oh, I know what I'll do. You give him a minute or two or three. I've seen you do that. He just stops.
Or I respond and say, I don't understand.
Yeah. But you'll chew it over a little bit first, right. And I know, I'll ask this guy.
Jessie teases me. Jessie's my oldest daughter because she used to go into houses before you were around, right? And she would tease me like in family picnics and stuff. She would this was her way of teasing me. And Jessie's as timid as they come. I mean, she doesn't normally talk this way. She's like, oh yeah, when we're in the house, yeah, I know my dad needs to think because he'll leave me in the room talking and he'll go walk around the house again. And then he'll come back and he'll be like, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, I'm right? The one, when I'm around, I'm the one in the living room talking person at the table, just gathering data and finding things out and seeing what's happening so maybe we can help them. And you're checking all the things out in the house and coming up with answers. And where'd Bill go? He'll be right back. He's thinking.
Slow blow results. All right, number 5. A pro dedicates himself to mastering technique. He respects his craft and does not consider himself superior to it. The pro knows these techniques are his successful behavior that I was talking about earlier and uses it as such. He wants to be in possession of a full arsenal of skills when the inspiration comes to use it. Okay, it's not to answer a question. You know, it's not that you have these skills to, you know, one of the things that we talk a lot about when we do coaching stuff is, you know, tell a story that has a meaning that will help the person have a realization.
Right.
You know, like one time I had a contractor and and here's what I did to solve that problem.
Right.
But it's related to a problem that's going on in the seller's head, right? Mm-hmm. So you have that arsenal of skills. It doesn't mean the arsenal of skills is handling the rebuttal correctly all the time. What I'm talking about is even if you tell other people my stories. Well, I have a friend and he told me this, right? So
sure.
That's a huge part of it. The pro knows he's sly by getting into action. So the pro knows that his little sly trick is he doesn't need to know anything. He just needs to know he needs to get into action. Working extremely hard. So the pro knows that he has to get into action, work extremely hard, or incessantly. He leaves the room, he leaves total room for genius when he does this. Right? So he leaves room for genius to enter the any situation so he can put genius in there. So what I'm saying is he works extremely hard and incessantly so that genius can show up. We call this discovery, the discovery stage in our deals. So I'll work extremely hard and incessantly on like what's going on in the seller's head. What pictures are they seeing? Why, I'll ask questions. Why all of a sudden are you selling this house today? Why didn't you sell it? You've had it for 20 years. Why all of a sudden today?
Yeah.
Right? I'll work incessantly on the technique. I'll work on the certain things that I want to know about that came up in the conversation. They just seem like they're oddities. They're unusual. Why would this person all of a sudden do this?
Right.
Right? I look at the obvious. Right? The amateur, on the other hand, does not work technique. Mostly because he or she lacks experience and thinks he or she should live by the rules learned, not the exceptions. And without exceptions, the amateur misses the target with rigid protocols. Like, I got to do this first, and then I got to do this second, and then I got to do this third. They're going down the script, and they're trying to get all the information. And I talk about this in the way early podcast. If there's 10 things that have to be done in a closing call, and the seller's on number 8, the amateur's on number 1 trying to get up to 8. And they're asking all these questions that the seller doesn't, they're not tolerating it because they're past that.
Yeah.
And the amateur doesn't know that. They don't know the technique enough where they could start with 8, do 8, 9, and 10, and then go back to 1 through 7. Okay, so let me see. So you want, this much for the house and this much for payments. Like that happened to me on a call yesterday, right? I was on a call and the guy said, I sold my house for $179, but they're going in and doing an inspection, right? Fix my camera. I don't know why it does that. So they're going in for doing an inspection. But if the inspection fails, I'll call you because I'm willing to do an owner finance like we talked about before because I need to sell this house.
Ooh.
Right? So why would I want to go through, would you be willing to take payments? I don't have to do any of that. I'll go back and check it before I hang up.
Yeah.
Like, so let me see if I get this straight. You'll do this, you'll do that, you'll do that. Yeah, okay, good. But I understand the technique enough that I can roll along with the seller. Right? Mm-hmm. So the amateur, on the other hand, does not work this technique. They're too busy trying to implement the rules, not the exceptions. Yep. Right? This is why you need to talk to sellers and have practice. Right? The pro can flex with the rules. The amateur is too busy trying to remember the rules and how to use them to actually hear the seller. And make the exceptions that closes deals for monster profits.
Yep.
So I'll read that again.
Yeah,
the pro can flex with the rules. The amateur is too busy trying to remember the rules and how to use them to actually hear the sellers and make the exceptions that closes deals for monster profits.
The way I interpret what you just said is when you don't really know a subject very well, you just do what you think you're supposed to do. But after a while, you actually understand it so you can use the tools better and ask the right questions, or just you understand what to do. You're not just trying to follow, blind steps because somebody said to.
Well, let me paint the picture for you, just what you're saying. So if you have 1 to 10, if you have 10 things you need to do, we'll say in a closing call.
Yeah.
1 through 10, right? And the seller brings up number 8 first. He doesn't bring up number 1. He brings up number 8 first.
Yeah.
The pro knows he knows how to plug in number 8 first.
Well, yeah, if that's what the guy's talking about.
Where the amateur doesn't know that he needs to do that. First of all, he didn't recognize it as number 8.
Yeah.
He didn't even see that or hear that. And second of all, he's trying now. He just okay, and he just acknowledges them. It's the difference between having a real objection and not. Like, like you're trying to help grandma walk across the street, and she gets halfway across the street and she's like, "Ow, my knee hurts." And you look down and you realize that her leg is crooked and she just broke her knee. It's real.
Yeah.
Or she says, "Ow, my knee hurts," and you look down and there's nothing wrong. She's just complaining.
Yep.
So which one do you take up? Do you take up the one that her knee is crooked, or do you take up the complaint? And too many amateurs take up the complaints, and they go off in left field, and they're trying to handle what they consider to be an objection, and it wasn't an objection, it was a complaint.
Yeah.
And if you want more data on that, go read Grant Cardone's book, Sold or Be Sold, because that's where 85% of objections are considered complaints.
Yeah, just distractions, not to be chased up, just to be ignored, though.
Yeah, well, you have to acknowledge them first. Oh, okay, I got that, Granny. We're almost across the street. Let's keep going.
Yeah, don't stop is your point.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Don't stop.
If it's a complaint, if it's an actual origination, like she originated. Oh my God, my knee just broke.
A real problem.
Okay. Yeah, a real problem,
okay.
Like something you have to take up. Which, by the way I measure those, and then we're going to get out of here. The way I measure those is I acknowledge them, and if they come up 3 or 4 times, then I know that it's real. Mm-hmm. Okay, then I have to take it up. Mm-hmm. Like I have to talk to my daughter. Okay, good. But if you talk to your daughter and this happened and that, and she said yes, what would you do? I don't know. I have to talk to my daughter. And then after the 3rd or 4th time, she'll say to me, "Well, my daughter does my finances. I can't make that decision without her."
Got it.
And that's like a real thing. Okay, let's get your daughter on the phone, right?
Yep.
So the amateur doesn't know that. They're too worried about the technique or the flow instead of the technique of just handling them.
Sure.
Right. All right, Pete. We're cut it a little close here, so we're done. I'm going to continue this on episode number 306 because I have another handful of these. Hopefully we enjoyed this. Hopefully you guys got something from this. I hope the way we have laid these out, folks are getting some aha moments and what they need to do. And again, listen to podcasts. This podcast, you should listen to this podcast a few times and you should take some notes. And soon you might decide to go pro. Then only then you'll start to feel accomplished and happy with your real estate life. And that's my promise to you. All right. Don't forget to go check the link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to us. Don't forget to leave us a review either on the platform or on our website at Flipping Houses for Rookies. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll talk to you on episode number 306. Over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.